Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So let me start by saying this. 202-635-3778. That was my very first phone number that I had when I was living at 611 Edgewood Street, Northeast DC, Ward 5, at a time when they called it Little Beirut. And they weren't betting on a little black girl like me ending up at the White House. But I say that because it was my community that actually helped raise me, and my mother who put everything on the line to see even her own dreams and careers to push me forward. And so when we're talking about housing and we're talking about community, I have to not only say thank you to the women in here that help ensure other people have safe communities and live in affordable housing, but I also have to thank the woman whose shoulders I stand upon. It is something when, I always like to say this, when a woman walks into the room, especially when it's a sister. I truly believe that. I believe that when we walk in rooms that we shift atmospheres, influence in dynamic rooms, and we set the pace for transformative movements. So to be in a gathering like this, brimming with such influential figures, women who have not just navigated, but also redefined spaces where our voices have been overlooked, underrepresented, and sometimes not recognized, it is truly an inspiration. So I say that to say, Deidre told me to say this is a safe space. So let me say thank you, and also give yourself a round of applause, and applause for the women who have helped get you to where you are this morning. So today, we embark on a journey through stories of tenacity, innovation, and leadership. Today, you will hear from dynamic women, each a luminary in her own domain, who has carved unique paths within the alms of housing, community development, law, and finance. Their stories are beacons of inspiration, showcasing the diverse ways to unlock doors, and in some cases, teach us the art of creating new ones to step through. And with a keen sense of anticipation and shared eagerness, we will dive deep into these enriching narratives. So today, we have the privilege of engaging in an intimate discussion with two very esteemed women who I just gleaned and smiled when I met them because their energy was amazing, and I can tell that there is a roar inside of them that helps them push through. So in today's Fireside Chat, it is an honor that I can be able to moderate that. We will hear from them, and they are each heavy hitters in their own right. The Honorable Sandra Thompson, let's give her a round of applause, and Miss Alanna McCargo. And so in this session, we will learn what it is like to serve in a very public, high-profile position. And they are tasked with the huge responsibility of overseeing major agencies. I would first like to introduce and bring up the Honorable Sandra Thompson. You can give her a round, Director of the Federal Housing Financing Agency. She was sworn in by President Joseph Biden in 2022. Ms. Thompson has over 40 years of private and public sector finance experience with expertise in supervision, consumer protection, risk management, and consumer outreach. Before leading the agency, she served as Deputy Director of the Division of Housing, Mission, and Goals since March of 2013, where she oversaw FHFA's housing and regulatory policy, capital policy, fair lending, and mission-critical activities for the regulated government-sponsored entities of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the Federal Home Loan Banks. Give her another round of applause, please. Next, I would love to bring up the woman in purple that we will hear from, Miss Alanna McCargo. Give her a round of applause. She was sworn in as Jeannie Mae's 18th president in December 2021, making history as Jeannie Mae's first female president. She began her work with the Biden-Harris administration as a presidential appointee in the Department of Housing and Urban Development, a senior advisor for housing finance for Secretary Marcia Fudge. Her career in housing spans decades and has centrally focused on how America's housing finance system can equitably and affordably serve the capital and credit needs of all households. I am so excited to be speaking with you ladies today. So let's begin our discussion, shall we? So both of you women operate in extremely high, stressful position. And I feel like the look y'all giving each other is stories like, girl, let me tell you. That was a remember when look. But I want to set the mood. And let me start with you, Ms. Thompson. Tell everyone, first of all, what a typical day is like for you.
Well, first, I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. I think this is a very important event, and there is nothing more critical than women supporting each other, especially women of color.
Yes.
And I do think that we have to stand on each other's shoulders. We looked at each other because we do it all the time. We are very fortunate in that there were women running housing for the country for the very first time. We had Secretary Marcia Fudge,
yes,
who is the Secretary of HUD, and now Secretary Adrian Todman, President Alanna McCargo running Ginnie Mae, and myself running Fannie and Freddie. And between us, we run all of housing. It was the first time ever that there have been women of color running all of the housing agencies in the country.
Let me just
really
pause for that. And I wish more people knew that, like the everyday person really knew and understood that.
It would be helpful. It's interesting because when we got the positions, we all worked together. We try to make home ownership kind of the center point because we know that that is really the way to start building generational wealth. And when I took office, the racial wealth gap is higher than it's ever been. The home ownership gap was higher than it was when redlining was legal. And so it's been our collective responsibility, duty, and objective to really try to close the racial wealth gap through home ownership, because that's the way that people, it's the largest asset that many people own. And for generations, you can pass it down or you can take equity out and get a new start. But we just have not been afforded those opportunities. So we collectively believe that it's important to make sure that people of color have the same opportunities that other people have to get into home ownership. But when you talk about a typical day, I'd say there probably is no such thing. My day is always full of meetings. I try to limit my meetings to 30 minutes. If you can't say what you need to say in 30 minutes, then you need to go refine the message because, no, really.
But what is the verbiage that you use to tell people that? Because we feel that way, but how do I say? Y'all do too much right now.
No, 30 minutes. And Katrina she says
that. She's like, no, she would say it.
No, I start on time. I start 2 minutes early because I don't want to disrespect anybody's time. And it's just like going to the hairdresser. One person could throw everybody off. Like you get somebody in there and they stay under the bowl too long, and if you're waiting to get your turn. But at the end of the day, you have to respect people's time, and I want them to respect mine. So I start my meetings on time and I end them on time, if not early. And if you don't finish, we can come back another time, but you have to teach people how you want to be treated and how they're going to treat you by not just what you say, but what you do.
Yeah.
And I just think, my day is really busy. And I have lots of meetings with people. I try to meet with my direct reports once a week. I meet with stakeholders. I meet with other agencies. We may have standing meetings on like the Financial Stability Oversight Council with all the regulators coming together. So there's always something to do. And sometimes, like yesterday, I just came back from Louisville, Kentucky, and I had meetings there. I was going there for a speech like this. So the speech started at 9. I get there. I had a meeting at 7:30 before the speech. I met at 9. Then I had a meeting at 10 after the event. And then I always try to go and look at properties that Fannie and Freddie own, because I'd like to see how people are using their money. Like Fannie and Freddie they provide financing, and I want to see how that financing is used across this country. We're responsible for $8 trillion in mortgage-backed securities, and I want to see, what that means to, everyday people. And so I go to properties, and I go to people's houses, and I go to their apartments, and I sit and I talk and I listen, and then I come back and I get really upset and to figure out, why are these people living in abject poverty?
Yes.
Why are our organizations financing these properties that may be backed by HUD, and HUD is sending money every month for them to do renovations and upkeep and property management, and it's just not happening. And you go there and you see broken windows, or just water that's been there forever, washing machines that don't work, elevators that don't work, and buildings with 11 stories where seniors are up there, and fire departments, filing complaints against the city or this particular building because they don't have the elevators, and they had to lug 60 pounds of equipment to get a senior to carry her down in an emergency because the elevators weren't working. And so I come back and say, go fix those elevators before the end of the week. And that starts, those are the types of things that I would never find out about if you stay, in Washington. So my day varies to make a long story short.
No, but as you're going through your day, I'm thinking about all that you carry.
Yeah.
Literally the community on your back. And many of you are in this room and you're trying to figure out how to manage, how to do this. So your story is important because as you're talking, women are saying, I get it. I feel that. I'm trying to figure out how to do. There's a spa certificate in the back for you somewhere.
Please.
Right. But let me ask you, I saw the look that you all gave each other in the beginning, and I know I was joking, but that connection meant something, and it was about what you have been through since you've been in this position. So for you, what is your day like, and what are you carrying?
Yeah. So thank you, everyone, for being here and for the invitation to join. I just can echo just almost everything that the director shared. I will tell you that these positions do carry extra weight, I feel, for the women that have been doing them. We are blazing a trail for the first time that I believe has been, that is seen. It's really seen and it's recognized, but it also comes with many challenges. And you described them so well. The ability to do these jobs every single day, I do not believe I could do well without Sandra Thompson in her seat, without Marcia Fudge as the Secretary of Housing, without Deputy Secretary Adrian Todman, who is about to step in as acting secretary now that Secretary Fudge has moved to retirement. The strength of the bond, really, and the ability to have someone to connect with, speak to, when we are dealing with the kinds of days that she's describing. My days are very similar. The biggest difference between the $8 trillion woman sitting here who's responsible, I'm responsible for all the federal government mortgage lending. That's about $2.5 trillion at Ginnie Mae. And so we're the smaller baby of the government-sponsored enterprises, but we are serving the most underserved people in this country through the Federal Housing Administration, FHA, VA lending. We do support USDA rural housing in communities all over the country, and our Indian housing loan guarantee program that is run through PIH at HUD. Those government programs are serving again, just overwhelmingly first-time homebuyers, overwhelmingly Black people, Hispanic families, and households that are lower income, moderate income households all over the country, in cities and in rural communities. So just with that as a backdrop, what I do is mostly important on a day-to-day is making sure that we continue to have capital flowing into the U.S. housing system that can support ensuring that lenders can continue to make those mortgage loans available in communities all over the country, because they are truly what is helping so many people achieve home ownership. The biggest wealth building tool, especially in communities of color. You know, and I know there's a lot of controversy about that. Like, should that be the biggest source of wealth? We can debate that, but it is. And it has been for us, for Black people, and for white people. And so, you know, we that's undeniable. Those are just facts. And so I do every single day think about that and all the people that we're able to support in this work. The big focus in this job that you know, has been really new for me, but really eye-opening, has been that it's a very global job. I've spent a lot of time in other countries. Our investors that invest in the U.S. housing market come from Asia and Europe and Canada and other places. And so I spend a good amount of time in other countries speaking to investors, trying to make them understand what the attraction should be and why they should invest in Ginnie Mae, so that, again, that capital can continue to flow into our housing markets here in the U.S. and support the people that we support. So that's another kind of major piece. And I just have to say, Director Thompson is telling the truth when she says she goes to communities and she sees a house, and if it's HUD-backed, Secretary Fudge and I got a phone call. You will not believe what I just saw in Chicago or wherever, and this is unacceptable. That is a passion from a leader in this space I have never seen in a role where that can actually do something about it. And I will tell you, then the secretary gets this information and she's just as passionate, probably on the phone with the public, whoever, the next hour. I mean, this is, I have been working, you know, in the private sector and now in federal service for 3.5 years, and I have never seen that level of care for the people. Wow. And I will say that, you know, Secretary Fudge has been always about who are we helping. When I tell you my texts from her, my phone calls from her, did we do this today? Can we try this? I heard this and I want to help these seniors because they are living in terrible conditions. To that passionate leadership that really cares about people and puts people first, and kind of thinking about everything we do and every policy move we're making is sort of what makes this so special.
Wow,
Can I mention
incredible.
one
Yes,
quick thing
go
that we
ahead.
didn't talk about, and that's the policy making and the engagement with the policy makers on Capitol Hill. It is very interesting, somewhat robust, and it can be very challenging. You know, one of the things that we've done is we've asked Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to put together these equitable housing finance plans, and the whole purpose is to identify barriers to home ownership and then come up with solutions to those barriers. And so the next thing you know, you're in the middle of some meetings and you get a letter and it's like, you know, is this legal? You know, based on what happened with the Supreme Court, do you have these race-based, you know, programs? Under what authority are you guys offering these programs? And this is illegal, and you know, we're gonna, you know, subpoena all of your information and communication and all of that. And so while we are trying to do what I think is good for everyone, because homeownership does involve, you know, building communities.
Absolutely.
It is not without opposition, let me tell you, and very public opposition, and very sometimes not so nice opposition.
That was a light way of saying it, because it is downright evil. What we are seeing when it comes to many who are trying to rip away and rip apart everything concerning diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I see it day to day. I was just telling someone, waking up in the morning and turning on the news, I'm like, okay, which state is it now? Is it Alabama? Are you up again? Or is it, you know, so it's hard. But to those who are here working in this space, how many of you, just by a show of hands, feel the weight of that and are trying to figure out how to navigate in these spaces? Right? You're having like, I don't, look, directors are like right here. I say that because I was going to ask you, what is your origin story in this field? But included in that, what keeps you staying? I hear the good work, but I know that it is a lot.
Well, fortunately, I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago.
Okay, Chi-Town.
Yes. Okay.
So they get real gangster in Chicago.
Yes.
It's making sense. It's making sense. Okay, Chicago. Wait, are you Detroit? Are you where?
Bronx.
You? Bronx. Oh,
Yeah.
we're gonna keep it real cool. Okay, go ahead.
No, so fortunate to have parents that really took time with me to instill values, especially values of faith, because if nothing brings you close to the Lord, this job will have you on your knees every single day. But that's a good thing, because I know that whatever happens, good or bad, that I have the strength to get through it. And so my parents instilled this faith in me that is not going to go away, and nobody can take it away, and it doesn't matter. But I was blessed to have, my friends, my dear friends are here today, and it was, as you all know, maybe a surprise to me, but my longtime friends from Howard University, where, if you go to Howard,
HU,
But if you go to, an HBCU, all the things that you learn get reinforced. You can do this, you will do this. I have people, before I even got up here, my friend Stevie and my friend Manette, they were pouring into me. So I felt like even if I did horribly today, they would say, you did good. I mean, they were always...
But that's important. That is important, having those spaces where you can have people that help affirm you when you feel like you are at your low.
Absolutely, because when you are working every day and people are trying to, pull you down or just go against something that you're saying or make you feel like you don't know what you're talking about or you don't know what you're doing or that they're smarter than you for no reason other than, that you're an African-American woman, and you don't get the respect and you got to demand it. And you have to show them, like sometimes that south side or that Bronx side.
I knew it.
It's the truth.
But it's true. You have to do that. You do.
It's true. You have to, because people take your kindness for weakness and they think they can just walk all over you, say anything they want. You can be in a room and you can say something, and you guys have experienced it. A lot of women have. You say something.
Raise your hand. You have. You can. Yeah. We can amen all day today. Because I hear you.
But it's true. And so you're working, sometimes you don't know who to trust. And so that's why it's important to have Secretary Fudges and the Alannas. But most important, I've known Manette and Stevie for 40 years, and I know they will call me out, not, in a heartbeat, but they will reaffirm me, they will pour into me. They pour into who I am when I'm at my lowest, and they just give me, you can do this. It's like all of Howard. I feel like the bison coming up in me. But, it really matters because you can't have people constantly tearing you down and you don't get replenished. You have to, you can't have withdrawals and no deposits. And just like in banking, those deposits have to be way more than the withdrawals because the people are coming at you every day, and then you got some automatic debits that come out of nowhere.
Come on. I love
It's perfect.
There's so many bars up here that you are getting. But that's like pouring from an empty cup, right? And so many times we're walking around dry and depleted. How do you navigate that? And then what is some of the best advice that someone has given you that you take with you along your journey?
Yeah, there's so much to think about there. For me, having a circle that you can rely on and that no matter what you're doing is out there, they're praying for you. Mm-hmm. They're thinking of you. They're sending you that quick text, like, I know you're about to do this and you're going to be great. My family. These are the sort of center points for me.
And they all go back to community. As you're saying that, 100%. I'm thinking it goes back to community.
All about community and communities that you build over time. You're talking about the bison community, right? Many years of community building through many different roles and jobs that you've had. The other thing is, whatever you can do, and this is something that we talk about a lot, is how can we bring people with us? We are in these positions for, it's short time, it's not forever. These are powerful opportunities to figure out how you can really bring and lift people up. In this moment, I am so, just every day when I'm listening to the news and hearing about, the attacks on diversity and equity and inclusion, it feels very personal. I'm a DEI hire, to some people. And so I have this job because I'm Black, because I represent equity or diversity, and that's not true, but that's what a lot of people think. People that we have to deal with and work with every single day. And Sandra will tell you, most of the tables we sit around, when we're sitting with CEOs of banks, and we are the only one that looks like us at that table, unless we're together. Then it's two of us.
And you lock eyes again,
yes,
just like.
Yes, we do. But it's a very, that is something you have to carry. You carry every single day, and you have to demand the respect that someone who is before me, a white man that was working in this job before me, would have just naturally gotten walking in the room. You just don't get that.
Right.
And I feel that every single day, and that is why you have to sort of, and again, you're walking into these rooms, you are by yourself. I'll often bring my team with me just so I know I got one person in the room that's with me on my team, but you don't know. And so that community and that backdrop of knowing that you have a place to go fill your cup every single day is just absolutely crucial. You cannot do these jobs alone, and these jobs are very lonely. When you get to a certain point in your career, people don't come to you and tell you everything. You have to rely on things outside of it. Your staff isn't going to tell you some of the things they might have told you when you were in a different position. When you get up to a certain level, and that is that's also, it's very isolating.
It is.
And you cannot, that can be detrimental, I think. I've seen it happen to leaders, and you can't get stuck there. I think you always have to remember from where you came, and know where you can go to be refilled, and have that community and that support around you, and those people that you can call, that you can trust, that will work with you through whatever it is you're going through, and have probably experienced it.
Wow, that's real. That is so real. There are a lot of women in this room who are watching, and they're like, I hear you, I'm feeling it, and I'm also ready to, I say we're in spring forward. I'm ready to go to that next level. I'm trying to figure out how to navigate that space. So what are some of the directives that you can give, and what helped you to accelerate throughout your career, and what is the advice that you can give to someone who is like, I want to go higher in this?
I think I would say be open to opportunities. Like, I always used to feel like I had to be the expert in everything in order to move to a different place or a different position. I think not having experience, and men do this all the time, they don't have to know something to say, oh yeah, I'll do that. And this isn't all men, of course. I'm generalizing a little bit, but the requirement to, the ability to just be open to doing something out of your comfort zone and learning something new and expanding your knowledge base and trying things new. And even if you fail, it's okay. Like, people put a lot of pressure on themselves, or I should say I will put a lot of pressure on myself to be right and to do the right thing and to say the right thing. But sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. And so I have to be very comfortable in failing or falling, but then getting back up. And that's one of the things. Nobody's perfect. People make mistakes, and you aren't always going to be right. And what happens when you find yourself in those positions and it's in a big room and somebody, you know they're waiting on you to make a mistake? Well, you have to take it, but you got to get back up and go out there. I've seen men do it all day long. They gloss, oh yeah, I didn't do that, blah, 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 and they move on, and it's something that happened in the past, or they make you think it didn't even happen, or I didn't even say that.
That part.
Right. No, but it's really, at the end of the day, we have to have tough skin. We have to take chances.
Oof.
We have to give ourselves grace. And we also have to be okay with getting back up and acknowledging that we are not perfect. We can't do it all. We weren't meant to do it all. We weren't meant to be it all. We have to have help. We need help. And we just are human beings at the end of the day. And the interesting thing for me is in Washington is so different because everybody is into, like titles and roles and all of that. At the end of the day, and I never forget this, if something happened to me right this second, they wouldn't get me out of this building and somebody be sitting in my seat.
Come on.
And so I am not what I do. That doesn't.
Come on.
I'm not. Mm-mm. When I go home, my parents, who fortunately are still alive, I still have to wash those dishes. And no, but you really have to. What I do is not who I am, and it's just what I do. And I won't be doing this forever. I'll be doing something else. But people get caught up into the title and the position and all that comes with it, and you get to the point where you can't. Sometimes you have to filter what people tell you because are you talking to me, Sandra, or are you talking to the director, the position? And there is a difference between the two.
Oh, I'm getting the time. This is so like I could sit at your feet all day long and soak it up. I wish I had Chicago and the Bronx in the room with me. I don't. But just quickly, 30 seconds. I just want to kind of bring this conversation to a close, but in a way that leaves and deposits just a little more into those who are listening about being in these spaces, these tough spaces that they're in, and how to soar. 30 seconds.
I would just say, first and foremost, believe in yourself and use your voice. I just think about my career trajectory, and one of the things that stands out to me is I had mentors, people who would say to me, you can do this. I didn't think I could do it. But they would tell me, you can do this. And it was those opportunities. Take those opportunities when they are presented to you. But you got to do the work.
Yes.
That's how you move. That's how I've moved through my career, is I've been willing to take a chance, fail, but because I worked so hard, even at failure, you're still seen by people as this one, she's gonna be able to do this next thing, this next job, this next task. So you just have to believe you can do it. And I just have seen so many women not step out of a comfort space, afraid to try something different, something that you do, because we want to know that we have everything figured out. We want to make sure it gets done right, because we're women. And this is Women's History Month, so women we want to get things done right, and so you just sometimes get into a circle of safe space, and you're a little afraid to step out. And listen, we have this whole world that's looking at us and hoping we fall off the ledge. And you have to just have a voice and have the confidence to move into places and spaces that may not be comfortable, but trust and believe. Once you're in there and you have your voice in those rooms, it's a game changer.
I love it.
And it also gives you an opportunity to speak about other people and women that you know are working so hard that nobody else is seeing in those rooms, so people can then start to bring that. That's how it works. That's how it's worked for me, and I believe that we have to just remember that and use our voices when we are not in the room, and also when we get in the rooms, continue to use your voice to lift others.
I love it. How many have enjoyed this conversation? Straight out the box. Please give a round of applause. The Honorable Miss Sandra Thompson. Give her a round of applause, and also Miss Alanna McCargo. It has been an honor to sit between two